Another story that I like to tell, and if I could share with you, is Coca-Cola. And I tell this because Coca-Cola, as we know, is the masters at branding. I mean, they take a product and they create a brand around it, and they get you to buy and purchase the product. They're masters at it. And I actually got, it's very hard because I just came from Dallas, and you can't travel on the plane with liquids, you know, so I had to find a soda bottle here, which I was able to find, a Coke bottle, kind of the old one. And I'm going to talk to you about classic Coke, I guess this would represent classic Coke, and what we call new Coke, right? Everyone knows that, what happened there, right? Classic Coke and new Coke. Right, well, let me show this. I'll make it disappear, see? How's that? So anyway, you like that, eh? That's good, right? That's good. It takes years of practice to do that. Anyway, so let me just tell you a quick little story behind it, because people often, how could Coca-Cola go so wrong? Well, it's literally based on an assumption, and here's what it is. Coca-Cola realized they needed to come out with new flavor, because sweetness really is what sells in the soda business, And they needed to come up with something sweet, a little sweeter than what they had now. So what they did is they developed a new formula, and they did blind taste tests with new Coke versus old Coke. And what they discovered was that when you did in these blind taste tests, they discovered that new Coke beat old Coke. And they decided then they were going to roll it out. Now, they were so afraid of the media and other businesses finding out that they were developing a new product, they made the assumption that based on these taste tests, new Coke would win. Do you know what they never did because they made that assumption? They never actually took the classic Coke product and the new Coke product and put it in front of the consumer and said, okay, taste it, now tell us. They did it on the blind taste test. And as you know, the result of that cost them millions and millions of dollars. Now, thank you. There's a lot to learn by understanding assumptions and how to challenge them. And I believe that the fastest way today to come up with new solutions is to be able to identify your assumptions and then challenge those assumptions. Let me give you an example. This is called the French drop. This is the French drop. You take a coin, you put it in the right hand. Now, most people assume that the coin is in the right hand. I'm looking at the right hand, I'm holding the right hand. But what if you were to challenge that assumption? What in the sense you were to follow the other hand? What would you discover? You would discover that the coin is not in the right hand. You would discover that the coin is still in the left hand. In essence, by challenging the assumption and following the other hand, you have discovered a new solution that you didn't think existed before. Now, a good case history of that is OnStar. Does anyone have OnStar? Use OnStar? Okay, everyone know what OnStar is? You know, OnStar basically, if you take GPS and cell phone, put it together in a sophisticated service, that's basically what OnStar is. In a sense, you're never alone in your car. It is quite an invention. And it started back in 1995. And all the automobile companies were focusing on trying to come up with this kind of communication system in which you were never alone in your car, and it would change the driving experience. But most importantly, it's a great system because it saves lives. It really saves lives. And the reason it saves lives is particularly if your airbag goes off. If your airbag goes off and you cannot respond, or you do not respond, within 15 seconds they call the police, they call the ambulance service, and now the technology is advanced where they actually have a digital readout of the point of impact of where the accident took place, so that they could tell people ahead of time. For example, I guess if it's a side accident, they might want to bring the jaws of life with them. So it really is quite a remarkable system. But it almost never happened. It almost never happened. And the reason is it's very, very simple. You see, in the automobile industry, time is everything. Time is everything. You have to be able to produce a car in a certain aspect of time. And if you slow that time period down, it costs them billions of dollars. So, anyone want to take a guess? This is back in 1995. They have sped it up, but back in 1995, the product development cycle, that is, to come up with an idea for a product and put it into a car. Anyone take a guess what that development cycle might be? What? Years? 5 years? 10 years? Right in between. 8 years. Now, I'm going to try and do this. I can never really get this right. So this is 8 years, okay? 8 years. All right. Now, you're talking about cellular service and GPS. That's an electronic, right? That's an electronic system. Anyone know what the product development time for electronics is?
3 months.
3 months? It's 18. Well, back then, now it's 3 months. Back then, it was 18 months. So here's the hard part. You had 2 cycles, an 8-year development cycle, and you had an 18-month, right? Right? It's hard to do, but you get the point. And nobody, I'm telling you, nobody in Detroit, all the manufacturers believe it's impossible to mesh those 2 cycles together. It's impossible. Now, what happened was at General Motors, they were determined to change the driving experience. And so they said to the engineers, and they said to the group, we're going to allow you to fail, but we want you to succeed. And what it did, it forced them to challenge their assumptions. And the assumption in the industry was everyone was looking at this 8-year development cycle, and how do you fit the 18-month into that 8-year? But what General Motors did is reversed it. They challenged the assumption, they followed the other hand, and they began to look at this little 18-month cycle, and they began to say, how do we bring this 8-year into that 18-month? And that opened up the door